Hi, welcome to my channel. I probably don't look the best, but I really wanted to get this video out because I've seen something on the internet today, and it's been like, I just want to talk about it. And you know, it's about basically generally freedom, money, and your like purpose within your like life. Because I have to speak about it because I'm not being funny. I've spoken about this before. The world tells you fucking take, make other people's, and it's literally all a deception. Like, don't get me wrong, society has to function in a certain way, and I'm not saying like everything goes in life, because at the end of the day, fucking authorities and shit often, not always, but often are literally there for a purpose and for like, ideally making a decision that is beneficial. It often doesn't happen like that in my experience. For example, in the justice system, it's fucked up and it's extremely biased towards specific groups of people, and it's fucked up. But I'm sorry about all my swearing, but I have to be like, I have to share this message because it's such a good one. Like, not only like, so obviously some like institutions and stuff are wrong, or like they don't function like in an ideal way, or they're really biased and stuff like that, so that sucks. But when it comes to like freedom and money and shit, like, you talk about people that have got like fuck tons of money. Like, I was brought up in a like relatively well-off household. Like, I wasn't like super rich, but I wasn't in poverty. And it makes you see, like, we were like a middle class family, like we had like holidays abroad. And it really, like, I fucking hate the middle class so much. I'm so sorry, I'm just trying to stop swearing now, but I hate the middle class so much because they're literally so entitled, and they're literally, I found, like, really like obsessed with meritocracy, which is why I like sit comfortably in the working class now, because I find that people that are in the middle class are genuinely intolerable in some ways, because they actually are so, I don't think they necessarily all mean to do it, but just I find them to be really like, just not very, like, they don't really give a fuck about people and truth. They only care about like serving themselves and being, and like being high up on a ladder. Like, doesn't matter what the ladder is, like, as long as they're high up on the ladder, like, they don't give a fuck. That's just my experience. Obviously if you work to have a like really decent job, and you want to obviously be good at that, and you want to be up a ladder. But obviously people are just different. I personally don't like the working class in this, and especially because I'm from a family of immigrants. Like, in my grandparents, I'm like a 3rd gen immigrant. Like, they really don't give a fuck about shit like that, and that really annoys me. But anyway, my point is, it makes you see that money does not buy happiness. And I'm not being funny, at the moment I'm literally my mindset is gearing me back towards money, and I have to like remind myself that whether that money comes from like anything, it can come from like attention, it can come from me pampering myself, because I'm not being funny, money isn't always like physically money. It's also like oh my god, my voice. It's also it's also like people's validation, and like money based like living, like working for validation or admiration, externalizing your enjoyment. Basically, that is also like a form of like monetizing your life, because you're not going from like what you actually want, you're going from what's going to get you the most feedback and the most energetic return. And that's all well and good, because I can't lie, like, it's easy to do if you are attention seeking and you know how to get the attention. Like, it's not fucking difficult to get people to like give you attention. Like, that's easy. I'm not saying like it's easy for everyone, because also it's not easy for everyone, but it's not just about getting attention. It's like money, it's easy to get money if you get a job, like, and you get a decent job. Like, I'm not being funny, from my experience with money, you can get a certain level of money which makes you meet your needs, but once you pass a certain level, and the more money you have, the more comfortable you are to a level, but when you get to a certain level, unless you like are ridiculously good at spending money, and some people are, they have a lot of money and they know where to put it, but from my experience, you can have a certain level of money, and after that it's just excessive. Not that I've had that much money, but it doesn't really buy happiness. You can get to a certain amount of money which makes you happy, but when people are so focused on money, it's often at the expense of their own soul and their own enjoyment in life. And anyway, so it's like I watched this guy, and often when you're disappointed in life, like I'm literally trying to make things, so when you're disappointed in life, you can basically find that you project that forward, and you don't claim like what you want to be doing, because your brain is basically being like, and your body and everything, yourself is like, I was disappointed from this past experience, so therefore this current experience in life, I'm not worth that. I'm like most likely I'm going to be disappointed like I was last time. Like inevitably there will be disappointments, but with discernment, because I'm not being funny, there are so many people in this world that want to fuck you over, like, and they don't even do it necessarily out of malicious intent because you did anything wrong. It's just because they're so mentally like unable to meet their own needs, or they've got some wound somewhere or something, that they naturally act out at you. And when that sort of disappointment happens, like you're literally gonna project that shit forward for no reason. Like the only reason that you've got that wound or that like projection forward is because some other person has inflicted pain upon you in the past, or disappointment, because anything's caused disappointment. Like life could have caused you disappointment, you know, God could have caused you disappointment, you might want something to happen and it didn't happen, but you then project that forward, and then it's easy to miss out on good circumstances because you're like, oh, the chances are last time this went really bad for me. But the fact is, it may have not had to go that bad for you, or someone may have sabotaged that, because often they do, or like life may have just like, that thing may not have been for you, and that could have hurt, you know. And I'm so sorry. I feel like this is the key part, to be like, I'm so sorry that happened, because shit circumstances should not happen to people, and especially ones that don't deserve it, because I've seen really shit stuff happen to people, like proper like tragic, my life is over kind of shit. But like even in that's really bad. But also, and I'm so sorry for that, but also the small things, it sabotages people's psychological mindset, and it makes them not want to strive for anything else good, and it's such a lie and such a myth. And I feel like when you make peace with the small shit, and like people are literally so programmed out of their own intuition because fucking marketing and shit like that, people are groomed and conditioned and groomed in life to fucking serve society and serve like rich people's desires. They're like, you have to feed this institution and that institution and pay this tax, and every fucking time you go round to pay this tax and this tax and this tax, you're selling a little piece of your soul. And you know what, we all have to pay tax, or fucking they want you to pay tax, do you know what I mean? So you have to pay your bills if you want the heat on. But I'm not being funny, it shouldn't be at the sacrifice of your soul, and also it shouldn't be at the sacrifice of actually wanting to achieve what you want to achieve because society has boxed you in this small little pigeonhole of a citizen. Because at the end of the day, just because you pay taxes and pay bills, and the thing is, it's not like they necessarily even want you to, like, there are going to be some sadistic people that are so sad about their life they actually wouldn't mind you feeling like you're in a box of a citizen. But often people aren't actually like wanting that to happen, people just end up in that box because they put themselves in that box, or because life circumstances creates this box for them. And it's like, you have to like literally claim like your life and what you actually want to do and your desires, because it's so easy to like lose track of that shit. Like I do believe like what you're supposed to find will not pass you. I do genuinely believe that, but I'm not being funny. The amount of people that like are disappointed for past experiences, and then in the future they don't actually like go for what they want because they've got bad experiences from last time. Like I just thought that was like such a good thing, because often as well, people, because of various things, because our society is groomed and pruned to fucking make loads of money, and society tells you if you make, because society is just, it's all wrong. Like I'm not being funny, when there's one truth there's also a lie to fucking challenge it, because that's duality. And I'm not being funny, if you're just gonna live in blind ignorance to society's telling you the truth, then unfortunately, I've only got 4 minutes, like it's on you to actually like find truth in life, because society will lie to you, just not even because it actually wants to, but also just because it's like duality. So if you're going to settle for lies, it's like you have to like find truth within that, and that's literally why I do my channel, because you know, for one truth there's always going to be a lie. And I'm not being funny, like people just think that money buys happiness, and the more money you have, like the better your life is, and that is just a massive fat lie. And if I literally wouldn't have grown up learning that, I probably would have like been in the fucking rat race like everyone else and try and get loads of money. But the fact is, it's just not the truth. You could have as much money as you want in the world, but you can still be a miserable person, because I've seen it, I've been it. Do you know what I mean? And like obviously, yeah, money is good, but like it's like people are so resentful when they are stuck in a fucking rat race kind of job where all of their decisions are basically defined for them. They literally are so resentful towards everyone else because they haven't got the fucking foresight to do something about it. They haven't got like the ability. And I'm not even talking about within your job. I'm not saying just quit your job and do whatever you want because like, yay, because people have got to pay, you know, their bills and shit. But I'm not being funny. Jobs that certain people do, not only does it fuck up their own soul, but it fucks up other people's around them, and it's a massive problem because people hurt people, and when you perpetually hate your life or you hate what you're doing, you're going to try and make other people hate their life and hate what they're doing. But you as an individual do have control to one extent or another, because you have to be like, right, that shit was in the past, that shit hurt me, it shouldn't have done, but also in the future that's not something I'm going to actually be dealing with, because I have discernment over the circumstances I had and the people that were affecting that experience where I didn't get what I needed and what I wanted, and like have compassion there and be like, I shouldn't have had that happen. But also when you heal from that, you can claim and you can be within your power for other things as well, and not in like just in like a I actually deserve this kind of manner, rather than like the world hates me and the world wants to hurt me and the world is bad and blah blah blah. Like my camera's literally about to turn off, so I'm just gonna leave it there, but I feel like the message within this is strong and I feel like people should listen to it. So thanks for listening. Hi, welcome back to my channel. So I literally just did a video on what's it called, like basically the universe and letting go of stuff to like let stuff in, and I feel like I'm literally holding on to so many like beliefs around singleness, which I'm literally gonna get rid of in this video, like as I talk, because I'm not being funny. Society just perpetually lies to you in so many ways, and I'm sure it's just people deprogram themselves or program themselves for whatever they want throughout their lives. But when you awaken, it's actually such a great time, to be fair, when you actually like develop through life and you realise and purge out all the stuff that you've internalized. Like I have to reprogram my mind around singleness as well, because it holds you back massively if you're just walking around with like a mindset that's incorrect. And it doesn't make you attract what you want when you're walking around with a certain set of beliefs. Like, you know, I literally just have to deprogram this, right? So I've got this mindset of like, let's just unpack this, because I think a lot of people are like the same. You know, if you have a mindset of like about society as well, and it affects your self-esteem to one extent or another, even if it's not like really really obvious, even if it's on a subconscious level, you're still vibrating at that level. If you're to be like, you know, like society, like I'm not succeeded or successful in my life because I'm not in a couple, right? AKA, like, I think just to break down the logic of like universally, is that actually factually true? And like logically, does that make factual sense? It's like, it comes from this idea of two hot halves making a whole. And I do think that in relationships it can be like this, where like you do like obviously come together and become like a unit, you know, but not from the sense of like you're two incomplete people making a complete person, more from the sense of you're sharing a lot of information and kind of bringing your lives together and sort of sharing that with each other, and like obviously bringing insights out of each other and to each other. That's not the same as, and society or life generally, just because of the fucking like, what's it called, contrast of beliefs and stuff within people, is like you then start to believe, you know, I'm not a successful person in life because I'm not in a couple. So that doesn't logistically make sense. Like, just because you're in a couple doesn't mean you're more successful in society. You've got to think obviously from the fact of like what's perpetuated, and obviously relationships do come with a level of like commitment and sort of, what's the word, work, but also just because you work harder at something or work more on something does not mean that you're more of a successful person. I mean, if you want to do that and serve yourself to do that, in terms of as well society, you know, it's good to work on a relationship because it serves you, and obviously in turn will serve other people, but obviously you're not actually serving society by being in a relationship that only serves yourself in the majority. So to be honest with you, that could be like gone, because I'm not being funny. If you vibrate at the area of I'm not a successful person within society or within myself, as per other people's opinions and as per my opinions by myself, because I want to do more videos about how society and how lies about society, really, because I don't think society, you can blame society because society is nothing and you're really just blaming the universe, but like how society basically pigeonholes you into this box, and you pigeonhole yourself therefore into this incorrect mindset which limits you massively. Because now I'm going to walk around with the mindset of I can be as a single person and I can be just as successful and as much of a person as I could be in a couple. Freedom, do you know what I mean? It's also thinking other people are more happy when they're in a couple. I've not got much time on my bloody camera left, but I might add more of a roll on. But if you think, oh, some people who are in a couple are going to be happier. Okay, so this logistically is wrong, because obviously if you're in a couple, yes, you can be happier, especially if you've got some sort of honeymoon process going on where, don't get me wrong, relationships are great, but also when they eventually level out, like any relationship, that's normal. You're going to get, it's inevitable, life ups and downs, and it does require compromise to one extent or another. You become level as a person, because relationships, they don't literally, as much as relationships are great and you do multiply like your enjoyment for periods of time with another person, like that does create obviously an energetic collision to the point where you find more enjoyment when there's two people. But at the end of the day, when you get to the place of you've actually like spent time with them, then you go home, like your energy will level out back to the place where it was at. Therefore, no one is long term going to be happier. It might be studies to say there's people happier and like whatever in relationships, but overall your happiness is not defined by having a relationship. So that's another one gone, because it's like then you tell yourself, I can't be as happy as person B that's in a relationship because they're in a relationship and therefore they're going to be happier. I have to inevitably be less happy than them because they're in a relationship. Do you see how that fucks you over? Because also then what you're doing is you're like finding desperation within yourself to be in a relationship, or forcing yourself to want to be in a relationship. Because I'm not being funny, a lot of the people, especially on dating apps that I see, I really don't find attractive, and I really don't actually fancy them, and I really don't want to message them or spend my time trying to like flirt with them, because obviously when you're a female usually you want to be pursued yourself rather than pursue them. I tend to have gone with submissive men, but obviously, you know, you do want them to find you attractive, but it's like if you don't find them attractive, they might not find you attractive. It's like I don't need a relationship to be happy. And it's not to say I'm happier without a relationship, but the fact is I don't need to be less happy than Joe Bloggs that's got a relationship because I'm not in one. I'm allowed to be happy. That is just a factual fact. Because at the end of the day, relationships come with their ups and downs, but inevitably they're going to even out. Because it's even like loners. Like, let's just like bring this to loners as well really quickly, because I do want to talk about singleness, but let's bring it to loners. I feel like people, especially, and I think it comes down to this whole fucking beta like group mentality. Like everyone, I do believe, is born with like a soul tribe, and we've all got, like, regardless of what kind of a person you are, like if you're a real recluse or you're a fucking extrovert, we've all got a fucking tribe. And it's the fact of like, if like some people think that if you're a loner or you're more introverted or quieter, like you've got like less of an opportunity, like you've got like, what's the word, like less happiness or whatever. And it's like, is it happiness or is it just like, yeah, like less happiness? But at the end of the day, any relationship that you've got is not going to, it might like bring happiness. Hang on, I can get more memory. Just got to add something else as well, to be fair, because this is so true. Like, it's when it's the fact of, then this is the lie that I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if people, because I'm not being funny, I feel like some people do want you to fail, and that is just the truth. So whether it's perpetuated by negative people or whether it's not perpetuated by negative people, it doesn't really matter. But it is just the fact of, if you're not in touch with yourself and your soul's like truth and your soul's desires, because like I was watching this video, you have to literally practice sitting there with your hand on your stomach and say, what is it that I want right now? Like what will create safety and purpose and enjoyment in my life right now? Not like, what is society telling me? What paradigm do I have to follow, right, in order to get external validation from other people? What do I want? Like, what is my body telling me that I need and that I want? Because I'm not gonna lie, everyone has disadvantages in each sector of life, but society overall will literally condition you just by default of like, society doesn't serve you, you have to serve yourself. It will just completely condition you out of listening to yourself, and it will condition you to do anything else. Because I'm not being funny, it's not really anyone else's unless like you have a personal servant or something, like, which doesn't usually happen. I mean, even if you did have a personal servant, they still can't meet your internal desires. Like, no one else is actually programmed or supposed to meet your internal needs apart from yourself. Obviously like parents, but I'm not talking about upbringing here, I'm talking about in the moment, you as a person, because you can have as good parenting as you want, they're not going to know what your internal needs and desires are beyond a point. Do you know what I mean? They're not going to know, today I really want to have like this particular food because that's what my body's craving right now. Do you know what I mean? They're not going to know that. Obviously they can feed you a balanced diet so you don't have cravings. Obviously, you know, as I say, I'm not saying the world's completely dysfunctional, like life is there and things in life are there to meet people's needs in the main, but it's a mainstream one-size-fits-all moment. And I'm not being funny, what's a real myth is that when you follow a paradigm, right, of some sort or another, you're going to, which is a scarcity mindset, right, and you're like, I have to like grapple for this like amount of money because I'm not saying all about money. I'm not saying if you follow your internal desires you're going to become like a really rich person. I have seen it happen, I can't lie, because I feel like, or I've heard about it happening. But it's like, if you're in a scarcity mindset about anything, you're going to live from that, like, and you're going to create more of it. Is like a universal thing. I think if you what you focus on, you get more of. So if you like focus on scarcity, you'll create more scarcity. But if you focus on abundance and your actual truth and like if you focus on lies, right, if you focus on externalizing your mindset and focusing on other things in order to get something, whatever the fuck that is, it's usually nothing. You can't really get other people. It's often like from a place of like, I'm not meeting my own desires and acting externally. This is exactly what it is, and this is exactly what people do all the time. People don't meet their own desires and get what they actually want, so they act out at other people because they're not meeting their own desires and their own needs. And it's a real fucking issue within society, and it creates a fucking hell ton of like entitlement and a hell ton of problems, because as well, like when you're in that place of unmet needs and unmet desires, I'm not really necessarily talking about physical needs, I kind of am, but it's not really about that. It's about what you actually want. You're also extremely vulnerable to like marketing, and you're extremely vulnerable to like life in general, and people taking advantage of you. And often you get taken advantage of because you're not meeting your needs well enough. So therefore, like, you know, you want other people to do it, and people will like paint you this pretty picture of like, I can meet your needs, and then they don't meet your needs, but they get something to serve themselves. So this can literally happen to anyone anyway, and I feel like you have to change what you focus on in order to get more of that, and that is literally a really good thing. So this is a really good analogy as well. If you ever heard of this idea of filling up your own cup, and society basically programming you, whether it means to or not, to fill up the cup of corporations and corporation systems that create loads of money, only because that is what is perpetuated a lot in jobs and stuff. Society then programs you to fill up their cup, or the cup of that institute, of that place, and for one extent or another, before you fill up your own cup. And then when people are pouring from an empty cup of their own, that's when problems are created, and people aren't actually conscious of it. And actually when you actually listen to your own self, and you actually start to shift, and you get more like energy, and you get more like healthy, and you look better. Like, I am just gonna do this, to be fair, because I literally went through this in COVID where like there was fuck all else to do apart from actually just like do, like, so I literally couldn't even work in that time anyway because my job wasn't on or whatever. And I literally just all the shit I did was like, so like there was fuck all to do, so basically it makes you question shit internally, and I literally became like a whole other person. Like, I literally changed so much over COVID because there was nothing else to actually do, and I became so much more in touch with myself and so less in touch with all the old shit that went on in the past astrological era and stuff. So it's super important to I also just want to add this as well, which is that when you are like not using your internal self and using your internal gifts and your own like actual, not necessarily like intuition and drive, because I'm not being funny, like people aren't just gonna know how to do stuff and actually just do stuff naturally, just like, you know, from a subconscious mindset, unless you've actually like explored how to do it, because people aren't like superhuman. Like, you can't just like go when you've never driven before into a car and expect yourself to just know how to drive. I'm not saying intuition just means like just knowing how to do it, like you still have to learn skills and stuff, but I feel like, just hear me out here, I feel like when you're when you're living from like an unauthentic place, you're literally like killing like your sense of self that you're having to sacrifice, because they talk about, especially in narcissistic relationships, that you like have to sacrifice parts of yourself, which often companies are just really narcissistic generally. You have to sacrifice part of yourself and part of your soul to like be accepted within that either group of people or situation, and it's like you are literally like selling, like you're trading your time for money, right? But it's the fact of people trade too much of their time, because I'm not being funny, jobs in general, they're fucking tiring. By the time you do the whole job, you come home and fucking groom yourself and feed yourself and sleep, you're going back to the same job. Obviously usually you get days off, but if you're trading too much of your time and not for money and not enough of your time for yourself, you're going to basically be fucked over, and you're going to fuck yourself over. And I feel like this is always an issue that I've had, I swear, because like life takes so much from you. And also, if you're any sort of people pleaser, you haven't got to be a narcissist to be a people pleaser. Like, if you're a people pleaser of any kind, you'll go above and beyond for people, and people will take advantage of that as well, and they'll drain your energy. And also, you'll actually want to do a good job if you've got any like work satisfaction within yourself. This is literally the best thing I've ever heard as well, and it's literally it's based on like self-doubt around the universe bringing you, or God or whatever, or life bringing you something better. Because I'm not being funny, when you're rejected from a certain situation or a job or something, and you have to naturally, you're literally forced to go to something else, usually it's something better, isn't it? So usually the reason why people are trapped, and I've just heard this and it is massively true, the reason that people are trapped is because they've got not any faith apart from within themselves and within the system that humans have created for something better to come along, whether that's the universe bringing that to you, whether it's God bringing that to you, whether it's that's life bringing that to you. So people cling so hard to the tangible reality that they've got, and they don't actually have the faith to think, if I let this thing go, something else better is going to turn up for me, and they don't have that truth. I'm not meaning it overly literally here, like don't just quit your job and be like, I mean you can quit your job and just expect a better job to come along, it will. Not to say that you'll just get that job without applying for it and blah blah blah. I'm not like completely rejecting all the logistics of life, like the logistics are the logistics, but it's just basically a factual overall rule. Like, if you're literally not gonna let go of something that you don't want, nothing better is gonna come along. And another thing I just wanted to mention as well is that usually, like for example the life I'm in at the moment, right, I think a lot of years ago I had so much, and I think it's kind of, age is irrelevant to this situation though. If you block yourself to certain things because society's told you can't have it, people around you have told you can't have it, you don't give it to yourself for whatever reason, you're not going to expect that, and you're not going to on an overall level be able to provide that for yourself. But when you actually allow yourself into what your desires are and what your beliefs are, because I think naturally through life people get better and better and better at this. So whereas when you're in a care home, and obviously usually your body's like not as good by then, but often the way at fulfilling you're better at fulfilling your own like wants and needs that maybe you were when you're like a young adult, just because you've not got as much life experience and you've not gone through as much trial and error. But it's like, age is literally inevitable, but that's not always the case. Some people are really old and they've done the same things all their life and they're still in like a mental cage because they like don't know what they actually want from life, because society's perpetuated so hard that they only want this certain thing. And it's like, unless you're literally asking yourself what you want and what you want to let go of, and you're literally reaching for that, and you're actually, because what I was trying to say was, all of the shit that I actually like in my life at the moment is come from a leap of faith to one extent or another. Like, you know, if you're like it's anything like minimalism, for example, I literally chucked out so much shit because it was clutter in my house, but now I'm so much happier from it. Like, that was a leap of faith to an extent, because I was like, you know, it's not like I chucked out loads of shit that I'd need, but it's like, if I had all that stuff, I could have been like, no, I've got to cling to all this stuff because it's my belongings, and you know, what if I need this and that and this and that? But because I got rid of it, I'm so much happier now with less possessions, to the point where I need to go through more of the stuff I've accumulated to continue being a minimalist. Do you know what I mean? The reason that I like my house now, because it's actually minimalist and actually tolerable to live in and not cluttered and disgusting as much as I can make it. I do need to go through all the shit I have again just to make sure it's completely minimalist. But the reason I actually like it is because I've gone through that process to think of that contrast. I've actually questioned it, and I've not been like, oh, my house is full of clutter, close the book. Like, I've gone to the place of like, what's actually going to be better here, having all this shit or having none of that shit? Do you know what I mean? And actually making my life easy and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And like, finding that contrast, like, that's where you're gonna find what you actually want. And the thing is, what's fucked up about society and stuff is that you think what you want is going to be found from someone else. People will run with this, do you know what I mean? And I do it to people, do you know what I mean? When people are so delusional and blind about a situation in life, you know, people do just run with delusion. And unfortunately, we're all at different phases of life, because we will all only achieve what we are going to achieve in lifetimes. But I think it's so easy to see when someone is trapped themselves in their own mental cage, and they're easy to wind up about it because they're so fucking angry about it. And people from a compassionate place, I genuinely believe it's a place of compassion that people do allow people to fail in that extent, and they might like in one way or another point that out to them or reflect it back at them in one extent or another. It's a place of compassion, because people trap themselves in mental cages of like what they think they're supposed to do. And usually, to actually get to a place that's more stable within society, more stable within yourself, more stable within your relationships, like, I've literally had to cut relationships off to be able to heal and actually be able to ask myself what I want to accept and what I don't want to accept, and then go back.